There's some revelations in a new book that could further sour those tensions between Canada and the Trump administration. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro is suggesting Canada's motive in the war in Afghanistan was to gain political points with the U.S. He made the comments in a book by CNN correspondent Jim Sciutto called The Madman Theory, Trump Takes on the World. According to Sciutto, Navarro said, "Every time that a Canadian shows up in a uniform, it's doing us a favor. How's that work? Were they doing us a favor, or were they brought into the idea they needed to do that as part of the global effort against terrorists? I mean, if they were just doing us a favor, maybe their government should have been thrown out of office." More than 40,000 Canadian troops served in Afghanistan over the course of 12 years. 158 of them were killed. General Rick Hillier is a former chief of defense staff. He was also a commander of the NATO-led mission in Afghanistan in 2004. He's with us from Ottawa. Hi, General. Good to see you. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, Vashi, pleasure to be here.
Always good to have you back on the program. I want to give full credit to my colleague, Richard Madden at CTV, who first reported on this story. It really jumped out at me. What was your reaction when you heard of these comments from Trump's trade advisor?
Well, my first reaction, honestly, was, what an idiot. I mean, even if you believe those things, I'm not sure why you would make them and why you would disrespect the service and sacrifice and the spilling of blood and the loss of lives by Canada's sons and daughters who soldiered alongside our American battle brothers and sisters. So I put those comments in context of the thousands and tens of thousands of American servicemen and women who served with us, who became our battle brothers and sisters, and who spilled their blood with us and we with them, and served in one common mission to make the world a better place, because that's what we believe. And so I have to go back to the positive. And I heard from so many friends in the United States today who served and said, hey, this doesn't represent at all what we believe. We don't know where this came from. Our relationships are incredible, and we serve together. We're proud to do so. We're proud to serve next to Canadian soldiers, and I think that positive part of it.
So you did have people from the United States reach out today in response to this?
I surely did. These are great friends. They're battle brothers and sisters, as I said. We've served together in the United States, around the world, and we have a common brotherhood and sisterhood that's incredible. And they all, not all, but so many of them reached out to say, hey, I heard this doesn't represent at all what we believe. And you know that, and I did, of course. So again, I go back and say, hey, what an idiot. Why would you say that? First, I thought he must be a military genius and knew this stuff. And then I realized he's a trade advisor. So I'm not sure why he's commenting upon this. He obviously doesn't understand the Article 5 of NATO, that, an attack on one is an attack on all. We believed in that here in Canada, and that's why Canada stepped up to take part in that mission and try and make the world a better place. But actually, I would also say that our young men and women, when they served, and certainly those that served under me when I was chief of defense staff, and those that served after, I know, they did it because they believed it was right. And I quoted young Master Corporal Sulis from the 2nd Battalion of Patricius, and he was asked that question: why did you go to Afghanistan? Why did you do this dangerous mission? He said, I did it for our children. I did it so they hopefully could have a better life, and that we would have less fear and less insecurity and less terror in our nation and around the world. He said, I did it for our children, and so they could have a better tomorrow. Our young men and women did things because they believed they were right. They did it because an attack on one of our allies in NATO was an attack on all of us, and we responded that way.
Had you ever heard even the idea floated before that we were possibly doing this as a favor? Like, is that entirely inconsistent with all your experiences with your counterparts and your colleagues south of the border?
Frankly, I've never heard it specifically articulated that manner. Of course, when you have a relationships between nations and amongst nations in an alliance like NATO are complex, and everything, is a part of that relationship, and whether you're serving on a mission certainly becomes a part of it. But do you send your sons and daughters to make this great sacrifice so far away from home simply because you want to make points with an ally? No, you do not. You do it because it's the right thing to do first and foremost. You do it because we, as a founding member of NATO, believe in Article 5 and the fact that an attack on one is an attack on us. And then you do it because, hey, we're going to make the world a better place. Canada is, founding member of the United Nations also, and responsibility to protect those who cannot protect themselves was our initiative at the United Nations. So I have not heard it. Certainly, these things are part of a relationship, but I continue to believe we do things because they're right first, and that's what counts.
Do you think that what are these comments to you emblematic of? Is it the relationship that exists now? Is it reflective of any kind of the relationship that you experience? Or is this just unique to Canada and the U.S. under President Trump?
Well, I don't think it's unique to Canada and the U.S., first of all. And I think it reflects a nastiness in the relationships around the world now, internationally, involving the United States of America. And it's not something that I did experience. I worked in the military, of course, and became chief of defense staff and had the opportunity to work with, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, and I guess a little bit as a more junior leader, the Clinton administration. And we never did see that. Americans, they had their missions. They appreciated what Canada was doing. They would always say to us, hey, we need more of Canada. We need more of Canada. And we agreed that the world needs more Canada. And we tried to step our game up to provide that in the world based on what we believe was correct to do. I never did see that nastiness. We were immensely appreciated. The quality, the incredible men and women that we have, and the quality of our armed forces was appreciated. We heard time and again, you're awesome. We just need more of you. Your armed forces are too small. I agree with that. I agreed with that at the time. But never did we see that nastiness standing in the relationship. Never, not once.
We reached out to Minister Sajjan, the defense minister, for a comment on this, and we did get one just about an hour ago. I want to pull it up and read it for you. It says, when our friend and ally was attacked on 9/11, Canada was there for America that day and throughout the entire Afghanistan campaign. 161 Canadians made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of our collective peace and security. Canadians will not forget their sacrifice, and having served alongside them, I know the American military and everyday Americans will not forget that Canada was there for them in their time of need. Canadians have stood shoulder to shoulder with our American friends and allies through the 20th and 21st centuries, from the beaches of Normandy to the Korean Peninsula, and even now as we work together in our fight against Daesh in the Middle East. Your thoughts on that statement?
Well, first of all, he's much more articulate than I am. That's a given. He states it absolutely beautifully. He is absolutely right. And again, I just reflect back to my American friends and allies that I've heard from today or since Peter Navarro made his comments, and they reflect exactly that. I just hope that somebody in our government, in foreign affairs, the Prime Minister's office, the Prime Minister, or our ambassador in Washington is making this point back to the White House. We've been there with you. We fought. Our blood was spilled. Our young men and women were lost. We've had many thousands wounded. And we paid an enormous price for what we did because we believed it was right and because we were going to be there with our friends who were attacked. I just hope we're making that point strongly, government to government, leader to leader. I haven't seen that. I haven't heard that yet. I hope it is taking place. Yeah,
that's what I wanted to ask you, but as a final question, just sort of what the approach should be. If you think there needs to be, I guess, I know we've had so many discussions in so many different contexts about this relationship over the last 4 years, and when it comes to trade and the significance of the economy. On this issue specifically, do you think the government needs to be vocal and needs to be pointed in its rebuttal to the president?
I think my belief is that with this administration, you don't let anything slide. You gain no points by letting something go by because you're going to be perceived as being weak or having no spine. I think you need to rebut the point. I think you need to make it clearly, and if necessary, make it directly to the president.
Okay, I'll leave it there, General Hillier. Pleasure as always to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vassy.
Rick Hillier, of course, is a former chief of defense staff. He was also commander of the NATO-led mission in Afghanistan in 2004.